Well, I think it was inevitable, and I've seen this coming for a long time based on the very few times that I actually watched 5 minutes.
So here's what's really happening inside Montecito's most chaotic castle. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry aren't just hitting a rough patch, they're dangling on the edge of a full-blown brand meltdown. We're talking no leadership, no clear strategy, and whispers that there's not even enough cash flow to keep the lights on behind the scenes. People close to the operation are calling it a disaster, plain and simple. And they're not mincing words anymore. What was once marketed as a fairy tale post-royal power couple has now spiraled into something else entirely. A slow-motion crash that everyone saw coming.
And come to you in a second, Lady C. Tom, what do you think financially for Harry and Meghan? As I just said, I think everybody knows they're at best low-level millionaires.
Except Meghan and Harry still don't seem to see it. The second season of Meghan's so-called passion project, With Love Meghan, is about to drop, but you'd never know it from Netflix's behavior. No promotion, no teaser rollouts, no buzz at all. Just silence. And that's shocking, coming from a platform that can usually hype even the driest content into trending status. So when Netflix itself doesn't believe in your show, what does that say? Insiders whisper that the streaming giant has stopped funding anything meaningful, while Meghan's inability to organize even basic logistics is making the chaos worse. She's built a brand centered on herself, without the operational backbone required to actually sustain one.
Serious financial problems for them, isn't it?
I think the writing is on the wall on this one. I think the world sees this exactly the same. They're living this extravagant lifestyle.
And here's the real kicker. This entire empire has always been about one thing: selling Meghan, her image, her lifestyle, her dream. But what happens when the public stops dreaming about you? They don't admire anymore. They roll their eyes. Every time she speaks, she seems to alienate more people. And now she's trying to launch a lifestyle brand at the exact moment her own lifestyle feels less like a fantasy and more like a punchline. Take that Instagram cooking video, supposed to be authentic, homey, Gwyneth Paltrow-style content. Instead, it came across as stiff, robotic, and painfully awkward. Critics weren't just unimpressed, they were baffled. Why would anyone buy into this? And vendors? They're asking the exact same question.
These people have been relying on this Netflix money. That source of income is going to dramatically dry up very, very soon. The future doesn't look good for them economically, does it?
No, it doesn't. And in fact,
vendors say they haven't been paid, orders remain unfulfilled, customers are still waiting for refunds, and what started as sloppy management is now spiraling into a full-blown reputational nightmare. People don't forget when they spend money and never see the product, especially when the person behind it is a multimillionaire ex-royal preaching empowerment while ghosting basic customer service. And what about Harry? He's been noticeably absent from this entire fiasco. No promotion, no press releases, no visible support for Meghan's brand. Some insiders claim that's by design, a quiet attempt to keep his name far away from yet another embarrassing flop.
Is busy bigging themselves up in the hope that if they said they were worth X plus Y, Z would pitch in and offer them something commensurate. And if
Netflix reportedly wanted the Sussexes to separate professionally. Meghan positioned as the relatable one, the face with market appeal. But without Harry beside her, she's floundering. And Harry, he's never been cut out for this world. Commercial ventures, branding, profit margins, this isn't his lane. He was born into royalty, pampered since birth, and raised in tradition, not trained in capitalism. So the notion that Harry could suddenly swoop in and rescue their crumbling empire is pure fantasy. That leaves both the brand and the marriage teetering in freefall. According to multiple sources, the cracks aren't just financial or public anymore. They're personal, and they're widening fast.
Their profits were going to be pegged on what they produced and how well things did. So their payment has never been what people have been making it out.
The toxicity isn't one-sided. You can't have one stormy personality and expect the other to play peacemaker. This isn't balance, it's combustion. And when two people are spiraling at the same time, they can't pull each other back from the brink, they only drag one another deeper. Meanwhile, the business side is unraveling just as fast. Suppliers are holding back, refusing to take on new runs because the current ones haven't even been paid for. And even worse, some buyers who placed orders through Meghan's brand months ago still haven't received a thing. No products, no updates, not even the courtesy of communication.
Montecito, and some who have private planes. And she has a reputation for trying to cadge lifts.
Really?
That
That somehow doesn't surprise me. So Tom, in terms that you and I...
It's been nothing but radio silence. And when the people on the ground, your vendors, your customers, your fans start to feel duped, no amount of celebrity glow can cover that up. Rob Shooter's report on Substack didn't sugarcoat a thing. According to him, the entire brand is hanging by a single fragile thread. And he's not the only one saying it. Behind the scenes, whispers describe Meghan and Harry's business world as nothing short of chaos. Vendors haven't been paid in months. There's no leadership, no clear team structure, no financial backup plan in sight. And as dramatic as it sounds, people are openly asking whether this whole operation is a scam or just wildly incompetent. Either way, it's a disaster of their own making.
Harry's horse-based docu-soap Polo, which was, I did watch it, but it's unwatchable, absolute rubbish. That came in, you're going to like this, in the Netflix charts at...
Netflix, once the golden ticket in Meghan and Harry's post-royal reinvention, isn't playing along anymore. Their deal may have dominated headlines when it was signed, but the honeymoon is long over. Netflix ran the numbers. They saw the declining viewership, the rising backlash, and the ever-growing pile of controversies, and they quietly pulled back. Meghan may still be trying to push content, but with no marketing support and a stripped-down budget, it's obvious Netflix is just letting the deal limp along, quietly, almost like they'd rather let it die on its own than deal with the drama of pulling the plug outright. And insiders say what's happening behind the scenes is even worse than what the public sees.
$20 million a year. But the problem with these two is they didn't deliver. Netflix looked at the programs they were giving them and said, this is a pile of crap. We don't want it. That's why their deal has gone down the chute.
Meghan's been accused of being controlling, dismissive, and completely out of her depth when it comes to real business operations. People who've worked with her claim she doesn't listen, doesn't take advice, and often mistakes confidence for competence. To her, branding seems to mean glossy packaging and polished optics, but not actual value. That approach may have carried her image through the Hollywood hustle, but in the real business world, charisma alone doesn't pay invoices or deliver products. And now comes the bigger problem, the reputation issue, which is proving far harder to spin or package away.
For like the last 2 years, that's all we've heard. $100 million, $100 million. It doesn't work that way. You produce, you get this much. You produce, you get this much. You produce, and then when you don't produce, you don't get nothing.
Meghan has always tried to frame herself as the misunderstood underdog, the woman daring to speak truth to power. But that narrative is wearing dangerously thin. Between her public fallout with her own family, the growing list of ex-staffers who reportedly quit in frustration, and the avalanche of PR disasters, public sympathy is running out fast. Even some of her longtime fans are beginning to question the story. After all, it's one thing to be ambitious, it's another to throw everyone under the bus on your way up.
Pretend she was richer and wealthier and a woman of more status than she actually was?
Hold on, Kevin. Correct me if I'm wrong now. We all know Meghan boasted about being...
That's exactly how disconnected Meghan's brand feels from her audience. She aims for aspirational, but lands somewhere between out of touch and oddly bitter. Her cooking video was the latest example, designed to be charming, but instead it came across stiff, joyless, and painfully forced. There was no spark, no warmth, just a woman going through the motions, pretending to enjoy something she clearly didn't. It didn't sell a thing. Not food, not lifestyle, not even curiosity. Her point was brutal but impossible to ignore. Meghan's rise was built on image, not substance. And now that the illusion is cracking, there's nothing underneath to keep the empire from collapsing. The most alarming claims aren't just about unpaid vendors, they're about ordinary customers, everyday people who placed orders and never received a thing. No follow-up, no refunds, no accountability at all. It's one thing to struggle paying suppliers, but when buyers start reporting unfulfilled orders and total radio silence from the company, the story shifts into dangerous territory. And not just ethically, but legally. Suddenly, Meghan's brand isn't just being called incompetent, it's being whispered about as fraudulent. That alone is enough to tank a business. But when you pile on an unlikable public persona, a marriage dynamic that looks ready to crack, and a streaming partner that's gone ice cold, you've got the perfect recipe for commercial extinction. Harry, meanwhile, seems lost in his own fog. His appearances feel increasingly performative, like a man clinging to relevance without a shred of real strategy. The latest example? A supposedly private letter he wrote in tribute to Prince Philip mysteriously found its way into the hands of a media outlet. It was presented as heartfelt, but the optics were bizarre, and critics couldn't help but wonder if it was yet another staged move to keep his name in the headlines. If that letter were truly private, why did it leak at all? And the timing? No coincidence. It surfaced right as Meghan's series was gasping for attention, raising eyebrows over whether this was yet another desperate attempt to stir sympathy or claw back some royal association. Critics have been quick to highlight the pattern, how often Harry and Meghan's so-called private moments somehow end up in public view. It's happened too many times to brush off as chance. And this time, the leak didn't earn them sympathy, it backfired spectacularly. People weren't moved by Harry's letter. They were irritated, because trying to exploit the emotional weight of Prince Philip, a man they were accused of disrespecting in his final days, wasn't just tone-deaf, it was downright offensive. And as if that wasn't enough, along came another clumsy PR stunt involving the Duke of Westminster, Hugh Grosvenor. A report suddenly circulated suggesting he was trying to reunite Harry and William by naming them both godfathers to his daughter. On paper, it sounded like the perfect feel-good royal reunion headline. But reality hit hard. Insiders quickly pointed out how absurd it was. Hugh is firmly loyal to William, and the royal family now views Harry as nothing more than a liability. The idea that anyone would hand their child spiritual guidance to two feuding brothers, one of whom has publicly torched his own family, is laughable. The reality is simple. William wants nothing to do with Harry. That bridge isn't just damaged, it looks burned for good. And it's not just the interviews or the explosive book, it's about trust. Every time Harry opens his mouth, he lights another match and sets fire to what used to be a complicated but private family bond. Now, even longtime friends like Hugh Grosvenor, who once knew both brothers well, are stepping back, keeping their distance rather than being dragged into Harry's chaos. Meghan, meanwhile, is fighting a battle of her own, and her past is catching up with her in ways she clearly never anticipated. Former staff members, long silenced by NDAs and airtight secrecy clauses, are reportedly furious. And insiders warn that if those legal walls ever collapse, more than 100 people could step forward with firsthand accounts of her conduct, especially during her volatile time at the palace. We're not talking about minor workplace spats here. We're talking allegations of outright mistreatment and public humiliation. One notorious story describes Meghan berating a staffer over an ironing issue and even throwing fabric back at them in disgust. Meghan isn't just difficult, she's divisive. And when you're trying to build a brand rooted in grace, elegance, and female empowerment, being branded a nightmare boss with a trail of scorched bridges is a massive liability. And that leads straight into the financial side of the meltdown. The Sussexes have been portrayed as fabulously wealthy, but insiders insist their cash flow isn't nearly as strong as it looks. They may live like royalty, but they're not bankrolled like it. Big-ticket projects demand big-ticket funding, and according to those familiar with their operations, Meghan and Harry simply don't have it. That's why vendors aren't being paid. That's why products aren't shipping. It's not just bad management, it's a cash crisis. That's why even the most basic logistics are falling apart. There's no war chest, no secret vault, just image, and image doesn't pay invoices. So what's left? A fading brand, a fractured marriage, unpaid suppliers, disappointed fans, and a growing public consensus that this isn't a power couple anymore. It's a cautionary tale. And unless something drastic happens soon, the final chapter may already be writing itself, not as the comeback Meghan and Harry once promised, but as a complete collapse playing out in real time.